Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, close your eyes for a second. All of you, please, don't cheat, close your eyes. And imagine this tiny little house in the middle of this field by the name of Toastmasters. Can you all picture that in your head? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, open your eyes. Well, this is the house that I was referring to. Right, it might not be the exact same house that you just built up in your head, but better with me. Because today's session will be educational. In the next 5 to 7 minutes, I will spend teaching you from my own experience what it takes to build, or I should say create, a successful table topic. Now, in case some of you wonder why I still hold this tiny little house in my hand, well, if you were to build a house, you'd probably require to follow the same steps as you would to build a successful table topic speech, right? You would need a solid foundation, just like in this house here. You will need the main part, and you will need the roof, i.e. the conclusion. And I thought I'll put some emphasis on this topic in particular because, as we all know, our wonderful community, Manchester Communicators, is growing. We have more guests coming in, more members coming in. So it will be useful for all of us to sort of get some solid foundations in about table topics and ensure that next time when we're here on stage, we shine like a diamond. Are we all ready for this? My fellow builders, are we all ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started. The first part is opening, i.e. the foundation. Now, there I just want to remember two things. By the way, it might be useful for you to take pens and papers, maybe make some notes as you go along, or just keep it in your head, whatever works for you. But the opening, there I just want to remember two things. The first one, you have to grab people's attention. And you've got to do whatever it takes to make that happen. If you want to dance, you dance. If you need to shout, where appropriate, you shout. If you need to sing, you sing. But do whatever it takes to make that happen. Because you've got to remember that you only have 10 to 15 seconds to grab your audience attention. Now, another technique in the opening part that I like to use, what I like to call imagination, opening your audience imagination. And the way to do that is by using some keywords at the start of your sentence. Words like imagine. The moment you say imagine, you open up your audience mind. And you allow them to think for themselves and build that picture in their head. Another word, or the phrase I like to use, what if. The moment you say what if, someone's brain gets activated. And they start contemplating what if, blah, 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 blah. So you got the point here, right? Just two things that I want you to remember. Nice and simple. Grab audience attention and open up their mind. Now, moving into the main part. In the main part, I would like to share with you 4 techniques. The first one, probably most of you know, is the 3 main points. I guess there's not much to elaborate on there, just 3 takeaways that you want your audience to think about when they're at home or you want them to reflect on. The second one is a very interesting one. It's called for and against. Essentially, what this technique is all about is that you're giving your audience an answer without actually directly answering the question. For example, let's say I'm given a question or a statement. Lionel Messi is the greatest player in the world. How many of you agree with that? Please raise your hands. Okay, nice. Right. The way I can answer this question is by giving you reasons for Lionel Messi being the greatest player in the world, and also at the same time, I can give you the reasons against Lionel Messi being the greatest player in the world. So essentially, you answer the question without answering the question. Technique number 3 is all or nothing. That's when you just choose one way or one course and you stick with it until the end of your speech. Again, the same example. Lionel Messi is the greatest player in the world. Now, I choose one side and I stick with that one side until the end of the speech. That's all or nothing. Technique number 3. And technique number 4 is past, present, and future. That's when you share your personal story. Let's say I'm asked a question. Paul, what's the importance of the social media in your life? The way I can go about answering this question is by first talking about the past. I can say, well, in the past, I wasn't really bothered that much about the social media because I only got my mobile phone at the age of 14. However, now I'm on every single social media platform. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm everywhere. And I think this is a very useful tool to utilize for me in order to connect with people from all around the world, search for some job opportunities, business opportunities, whatever I decide to choose for myself. And in the future, I think if I keep applying that same principle in life, the social media can really help me progress further. So you got the point here, right? Past, present, and future. To summarize, the main part. Once again, 3 main points: for and against, all or nothing, and point number 3 is past, present, and future. Now, moving on to the last bit, which is the roof, i.e. conclusion. And the way you want to finish your conclusion is by giving your audience either an information to take away home and calling them to act upon that information. That's what I like to call to action. The second point is a rhetorical question. And that can work very well with all or nothing technique, or even with the technique for and against. Because what you do is essentially you provide your audience with the information, right, in your for and against, without directly answering the question. And then at the end, you let them decide for themselves who is the greatest player in the world, or who is the greatest basketball player in the world. For example, I can make reasons for Lionel Messi being the greatest player in the world by saying, look, he's just won the World Cup, he's won everything he could in Spain, he's just doing great, all the Ballon d'Ors, yet at the same time, he only played in Barcelona. And I'm not sure if he can he can prove himself in France. And then at the end, I can say, well, this is my opinion. And with that being said, my fellow Toastmasters, what is your take on it? Who do you think is the greatest player in the world? So you got the point here, right? A rhetorical question. And now, the technique number 3 is a summary. That's when you bring all the information together. And you sort of summarize it in one concise piece for your audience to remember. We got it, right? So 3 techniques here. Call to action, a rhetorical question, and summary. And with that being said, fellow Toastmasters, if you use all these pieces and put them all together, you will essentially be able to build a house like this. Right? There's just in there as well. Okay, here we go. Right. You'll be able to build a house like this and be as lit as this house, well, one day on the international stage of the world. Thank you. Okay, I think we have 5 minutes for any questions that you have, because this is kind of the type of a speech that I give. I throw some information at you and then you ask me questions. So please don't hesitate. I'm going to pick on people as well, maybe. Yeah, is that okay? Yes. Okay. Okay, the possible. Yes, you're going.
So in your view, what would be the worst possible way to do tabletop?
The worst possible way? Okay. Talking about opening, for example, right? I think the worst possible way to start your table topic is by saying to your audience how scared you are, I think. Because in my opinion, when you're on stage and you're given the opportunity to come here and share, this is your time. So you gotta shine. So when you get on stage, I don't want to hear anything, but just you shine. I.e., try and do your best to project that confidence. Don't say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know, there's something wrong with my voice today, blah, blah, blah. Just be here, give your best, and that's how I think that's how I would like to start my table topic. And also, at the end, although I said thank you in my own speech, I don't like to thank at the end of my speech because I feel like you're not making a favor. By the way, without sounding rude, I think when you're on stage again, you're here to give a speech. You're here to perform. this is your time. So I think the way you would finish your table topic is by just saying, Madam Table Topic Master, or Mr. Table Topic, or yeah, Mr. Table Topic Master, without saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I think that kind of brings your speech down, you know, like as if you are actually giving them, like, as if you're doing them a favor. Which you are going to know, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Okay, any more? Yeah?
Can you use can you use all the techniques in one table topics, all the techniques you have explained to us in one simple question, or will be very complicated?
It will be, because you have to remember in table topic, you have 1 to 2 minutes, right? So opening, I would say 5 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds max. The main part, maybe, I don't know, like 40 to a minute, and then 10 to 20 seconds to conclude. So I've never seen at least one individual can incorporate all 4. I don't know if there's any volunteers here, but I think it's best if you just stick with one and then stay the course until the end. But it's definitely possible to do 2, I think, but not all 4. Okay. Question from the gentleman at the back, Gabriel.
What's your opinion on people taking, for example, a 15-second pause to think about a question?
Oh, this is a very good question. I think pause is such a powerful tool because I can't remember who was it. I think it was either Sam. Yeah, he gave a speech, and throughout this whole speech, he took his time, and that made the speech even more powerful. Like, he spoke silently in a way, and then he took his time to answer the question, which actually made me pay more attention to what he was going to say. So I think actually taking pauses, there's nothing wrong with taking pauses. It can be a very powerful tool. And especially at the beginning, when you get thrown a question at you, you don't necessarily have to jump straight into it. You can take your time, because the timer isn't going to start until you like open your mouth and say something. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool, and if you can implement that in your own speech, yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Any more?
What do you think makes a table topic magical apart from what you said there? Because you can deliver that and still not be honest. What do you think adds is the extra plus?
The extra plus. I think with any speech, you have to share your own story. That's what I think makes it magical. Because, like, we are all different, right? We all have different backgrounds, different stories, etc. So if you find somehow a way to incorporate your story in your answer, then that's what makes it magical, because then, first of all, you're speaking from your heart, and then secondly, there's no other story like yours. And it tends to be like speakers that share their own stories, they tend to be kind of remembered, I would say, from my own experience anyways. So I would definitely recommend finding a way to incorporate your own story in the answer. That's what makes it magical for sure. Yeah.
Any recommendations to people who speak first time on table topics? For example, like today, you have many people who speak first time. What's your tip? What's the ultimate formula for the newcomers?
For the newcomers, I don't think there's an ultimate formula. You just need to keep coming here. This is the formula. You gotta keep coming here and do this again and again and again. Because like the first time I shared a table topic, I think I said maybe 2 or 3 words, and that's it. So it's just, I think, about practicing. So this is the best formula I could recommend for everyone who just shared here for the first time. So if you have an opportunity to come here again, do it, and keep coming until you get it right. But again, I don't think you can ever get it right, because every time you share, you get some nerves and you see new people in the audience. So yeah, I think every time it's a new challenge. So you just need to keep coming. That's it. This is the formula.
One last question. How would you convince Maria next time to stand in front of us?
Well, as a matter of fact, I think I can convince Maria by actually inviting her to the stage. Because I have a question for Maria. Interesting. You can take one can. Maria, in 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to Toastmasters.
About myself, okay. So you said that I shouldn't say that I'm nervous, so I won't say it.
No. You're not nervous.
But, well, I always knew that I don't really know how to speak in front of a large group of people, or I always feel nervous, and I thought that, okay, I'll just get a job where I don't have to speak in front of a large group of people, and that will be fine, and I'm good. But actually, what I really like to do is urban design. It's very similar to architecture, and in that field I really have to speak in front of a lot of people and speak to councils and make presentations and basically convince people about my ideas, which, well, I want to learn that because I know that right now I don't, even though I'm confident in my design or what I think, I can't really say it confidently. And for example, the table topics, it really scared me because I was just thinking I wouldn't be able to say anything because I just get a blank mind and I'm just like, that's it. I don't know what to say. So maybe next time I'll try it.
That's a beauty.
Right, that was a great performance. Let's just give him another round of applause. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. And, well, thanks for listening.